Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. Behold your eyes. Yes, you're seeing this correctly. This is me playing a ship, and this is a little bit of a first impressions, a little bit of a walkthrough on the Voroshilov. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. This is the third Kirov class light cruiser / heavy cruiser intermediate hybrid whatsoever, and overall the sixth Soviet 5.7 light cruiser, namely in the Soviet tech tree. The question is this ship worth picking up in the Battle Pass Season 3? Is it even worth buying the Battle Pass Season 3 just for this? Or is it just something that you pick up along the way and then will fall to be just a good looking hangar decoration? One thing as a final pre-say, I'd say, is that the camouflage that you see me being here equipped is also something that you can pick up as a reward in the Battle Pass a few steps later. Voroshilov, Kirov class. Well, it's certainly good looking, but unrealistically good in the game since it has its high rate of fire, but not really what was achieved under combat conditions. To this just in a moment. So there are two things that are not really great about the Voroshilov. That is that when you get it, it will be stock, and stock ships in naval forces are kind of a bit of a problem. Then also it doesn't really earn too many silver lines, not just because it's not a premium, but despite the recent economy changes in naval forces, which gave not just the premiums but also a lot of the tech tree cruisers relatively high, in fact very high silver line modifiers, this ship was left behind before it got even introduced with a silver line modifier that is not 8.0 like the best premiums or 6.0 like some of the even tech tree ships or its sisters, even the Kirov and the Maxim Gorky. No, it has a mere 4.7. That doesn't sound too drastic, and in fact, if you have a good battle, you still earn quite a bit. But if you don't have a good battle, which can happen relatively quickly, you're left with nothing but a around 11k silver line repair cost. Now, let's get this stuff out of the way. Let's talk facts here. What is this ship? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it meh? Well, I think that we have to just go by it step by step. First of all, let's talk about the armor, and it is 50 millimeters everywhere. The citadel side armor, the bulkheads, the barbettes, the turret faces and sides, everywhere 50 millimeters. Now, 50 millimeters isn't that great even when angled, and especially if big guns shoot at it. Then it offers not really too much protection. The only salvation is that the actual ammo racks are below the waterline, with what is then in the turrets itself is also relatively low. While you might lose your turrets on a regular basis, well, at least you don't take too much damage from most of the turret hits, which is a little bit of a salvation. The top speed is quite decent with 67 kilometers per hour, but it takes a while to come to a full stop and then reverse and get going forwards again. But you know, that's not too much of an issue because a lot of the cruisers have this. Then let's talk about the firepower. Yeah, the firepower of the Kirovs. They are kind of a little bit controversial. First of all, the more unusual thing is for a light cruiser, it has very high caliber guns. 3x3, so 9 overall, 180mm / 57 B1P naval guns with 900 rounds of ammunition between the 9 of them. Then also the usual 6 100mm anti-aircraft guns or dual purpose guns with 1800 rounds overall. Then we also have some 45mm, which are nothing too spectacular, but then we have the main difference between this ship and the Kirov when it comes to the armament, and that is 13 37mm, and then we also have some heavy machine guns. And I think it's the 37s that make this ship a little bit standing out, but only versus close quarters patrol boat attacks or versus the odd aircraft that tries to sneak through the entire fleet's AA screen. And yeah, then it can make a difference. but when it comes to the ship-to-ship combat, the ship is very similar to the Kirov, which again you can get for free in the tech tree, and the Maxim Gorky, which you can at this point pick up on the marketplace for roughly 22 Gaijin coins, which by itself it's also not worth because it also is not a premium. So the armament. The turret rotation speed is quite nice because of the lack of armor. And then we also have some torpedoes that I want to mention because I never equipped them in the battle. 6 533mm 5339 torpedoes. With the torpedo mode, you have a speed of 63 km per hour with a maximum range of 10 kilometers. Without the torpedo mode, it's I think 4 kilometers and over 90 kilometers per hour speed, so that would be utmost excellent in close quarters night fights. But I never equipped them because they only serve these days as external ammo racks. Let's talk about the ammo, and you have a rate of fire of 11 seconds, and that is the controversial bit. Let me just insert this part here before I talk about the ammunition itself. So first of all, the rate of fire was never really achieved in combat conditions and was only achieved, as Drakinifel worded it, only if a commissar was standing behind the loaders putting a gun to the back of their heads. Then the 11 second was achieved on land trials on a single gun, but never in those very cramped turrets. Just to give you a little bit of a comparison, the Admiral Hipper with its twin turrets has the fastest 8-inch gun reload with 12 seconds. Then we have the Saras with their 15.8 second reload, and then we also have the US cruisers that exceed even 17 seconds with their cramped turrets. The Baltimore has a little bit faster reload if I'm not mistaken, but anyway, just to give you a comparison. And then we have quite competitive shells. Again, if you get this ship as a non-premium reward, it will be stock. So you have to start with the 180mm OF-32 high explosive shell, 920 meters per second mass velocity, which is quite good, and a 12.17 kilogram bursting charge, or TNT equivalent bursting charge, producing 65 millimeters of penetration. But these days high explosive is tuned quite back. It used to be an absolute monster and dwarf at that time a lot of the other 8-inch equipped cruisers, even with that shell. Then we have the 180mm B-32 APCBC round, or the AP round, which is a tier 1 modification, and you should get ASAP when you shoot at other cruisers. Same mass velocity of 920 meters per second, a mere 2.8 kilogram TNT equivalent bursting charge, and at 1000 meters just under 400 millimeters of penetration, and at 10 kilometers just over 200 millimeters of penetration. And this is a problem, because with this you cannot really fight battleships and not even the battle cruisers effectively. And if they shoot back at you, well, you have at best a third of their armor, and they have significantly more powerful guns that can easily one-shot you. But I think that then, as the tier 2 modification, the 180mm BP-32 SAP shell is probably the best to go for most of the time, because it has 920 meters per second mass velocity, a significantly better penetration than the high explosive shell with just under 200 at 1000 meters, and at 10 kilometers still just above 100 millimeters. So it's very good versus especially US destroyers, all other destroyers, because also the bursting charge goes to almost up the level of the high explosive shell with just under 11 kilograms of TNT equivalent bursting charge. The fourth shell type, in theory, you can use as a high explosive time fused, is the flak shell, the 180mm ZS-32, which has the same statistics as the stock shell with 1 millimeter less of penetration because of a slightly lower bursting charge. For the 100mm secondaries, the only real choice is the high explosive variable time fuse shell or proximity fuse shell. 16mm of penetration, 900 meters per second muzzle velocity, 1.23 kilogram of bursting charge. And you can't unlock any sort of ammunition for the 45 and 37mm guns. So that all covered, the talisman costs 1,900 golden eagles, and to be honest, isn't really worth it under the current conditions. I like the ship, I had some fun battles with it, but very often also I just got outright deleted when spawning less than 10 kilometers next to a battleship. So those are my first impressions. I hope you found this information useful. Give it a like, give it a subscribe if you want to see more, and as usual, we'll see each other on the battlefields, in the skies, and on the waves of War Thunder.